I'll show you everything you need to know about it, but I still don't think my opinion is going to change how campy this map is. Starting off with the light tanks. Now, this map heavily depends on if you have competent light tanks. Now, straight away, this is the first spot that I will show you, and a lot of people do know this spot. You come through here, you use the bushes as cover as much as you possibly can, and then you want to go up to this spot over in E1-ish kind of area. Now, why would you want to go over here? Well, because the only chance that you're going to get spotted is around about here. You could go all the way up there, but then you're a bit more exposed. But once you get to here, you're in quite a safe position, as long as you didn't get spotted coming up to this. Now, the only way that you're going to get spotted is from the middle here, or if someone, for some reason, wants to rush all the way down here. Now, rushing in this map, it's not the worst idea in the world once you have your TDs in place. Because, I mean, TDs are going to be TDs, heavy tanks. This map, for some reason, the player base just decides, yes, let's all sit here. All on the one line. The 1-2 line. Because, I don't know why, but everyone just wants to camp. And then as soon as one person rushes, it then turns into, where am I getting shot from? Because if one person pushes this side, then everyone around here will shoot that. If one person pushes this side, everyone here will shoot that. So depending on how many people you actually spot, depends on that. However, you sit up here and the light tank tries to push, he's going to die. And you shouldn't, because you're in the bush quite well hidden. So this spot does work as long as there's no one actively spotting in the middle, because then at that point you're going to get spotted here and your game's just going to be over pretty much instantly. And if not, you're going to be on low health and you need to get the hell out of there. Now for the next spot, you're going to be trying to spot the mid. So this is just going to be working exactly the same way as if you were coming from this side. So I don't really need to show you that, it's just driving a straight line. But around here, you're going to be trying to actively spot. Now, you do need a fast light tank, for this, because if you come to about here, you're going to be wishing that you had something that's, really fast. Wheeled light tanks work great. You don't want to overcommit like I just did there. If you do that, you're probably going to die instantly. So you want to be just peeking up and down and just trying to get a spot on anyone that is around here. So, this is very risky, this position. However, it can be very rewarding if you know what you're doing. Okay, so from this side of the map, obviously I've already shown you that you can go into the middle, you just drive straight up there and just do pretty much exactly the same as the other side. But what about if you want to come this side? Obviously, E1 is where the enemy light tank will be sitting. So you need to watch out for that. But if you come along here and use as many bushes to your favour as possible, then you can get quite close to that E1 spot, and if you get to about here, you might, just might, be able to get a spot just as he's crossing. It's kind of like a 50-50 whether you do or not, so you could try and do this, although if he's already in the bush and you try and do this, then you're going to get spotted. So there's that. Also, you could use basically all of these bushes to your advantage. You could actually go down this side instead of going along the road and, really push up and then just poke up just like that, and then you should spot if he's in there or if he's coming up to there. So there is that. It's kind of, even for light tanks, it's a campy map because you can't really do too much unless you're in the middle. There's not so much that you can actually do, and it's such an unfortunate map that it's like this. It's just horrible. This is the main reason why I have this map blacklisted, because of the fact that if you don't get a team that knows how to play this map, it's kind of over. You can sit here. I wouldn't really recommend it though. It's kind of later on in the game if you want to do that and they're pushing, then you can sit in here and fall back a little bit, shoot through the bush, spot, and then pull back, go through the bush again. This also works for TDs as well. But later on in the game, that position is quite useful for light tanks if you want to get a little bit more vision for your team that's sitting back here. Again, there's not really much else you can do because this map's just designed that way. It's a little bit biased, but then at the same time, not to this side of the team, because if you just have someone spotting here, then this guy that's going to be moving into this E1 area, he's not going to spot anything. He's just going to die instantly. So you just do this, you peek up, you know, you could just drive around, but you're going to have, look at this much vision that you have on that area. You know, straight away you could spot him easily, especially if you're in a wheeled light tank. So there we go, that's all that you need to know about for light tanks. You do need light tanks, however, it's just one of those maps where if you get spotted, you're dead. And you need to be in a spot early on in the game if you don't want to die. So there's a tremendous amount of luck involved in getting to the E1 spot. It used to be a lot easier to get there. It used to be a lot more camouflaged, I think, if I remember that correctly. But the middle, honestly, if you're in a fast tank, just go to the middle and just try and actively spot people. You might as well. There's no point of going into this side of the map if you're in a light tank when you spawn this side. There's not much point. You might as well just try and get into here first of all, see if you can spot that E1 guy, and then once you do, or if you don't, keep just proxy spotting people that are around here, and just trying to spot anyone that's camping back there. That's the best thing you can do in the light tank for this map. Moving on to medium tanks. It's something where, I mean, I don't even really know where the medium tanks go on this map, because it depends on the medium tank itself. If you're in a heavier medium tank, then you could go here where the heavy tanks go. Like the two heavy tank locations, that means I'm probably not going to show you heavy tanks because it's just going to be exactly the same. But this is where I would go, say in an M48 pattern. This is it's not a heavily armoured medium tank, but it has some armour. It has more than the usual. So you could go right here, and as long as you have gun depression, which this tank does have, you can have an okay amount of damage, well, an okay game, while you're here. You can spot easily the people that are pushing up here with you. You've got access to the hill, and it's quite a nice location for this tank. The only thing that you need to watch out for here is artillery, of course. But if you're in a lightly armoured tank, there's not so much that you can do. Like, the best thing that you can do in this type of game, if you're in a lightly armoured medium tank, is just pretend you're a TD. Because what else are you meant to do in this map? There's no cover. The only way that you're going to do sustainable damage is if you snipe. So you might as well go either here, or you go over around here and just try and kill people on the hill from here. Like, there's no other way of you doing anything in this game if you're in a low armoured medium tank. I mean, sure, okay. If any of you actually do have a successful game and you know where the best place is to go with a low armoured medium tank, okay? Correct me. Feel free, okay? I'm all for being corrected. I don't know everything about this game, but to my opinion, I don't know where else I would go in a medium tank that doesn't have armor. So if you're in a Leopard 1, just pretend you're a sniper. Just pretend you're a TD. You got a great gun anyway, you might as well be a TD. Anything else like that, you might as well just be a TD. But for these types of tanks, like the M48 pattern, Centurion Action 10 to a certain extent, you can afford to go around here and also up to the hill, which I'll show you now. Okay, so making your way up to the hill. If you're in, say, a Leopard 1 and you want to support the hill, or in a TD, you just go over there and just farm and sit around that location over here. You can't really mess up that much to do that. You just go straight up here if you're in a more heavily armoured TD though. So the only thing that you really need to watch out for is if there's a light tank that is already on the hill. Because if they are super duper fast, and as I told you, I wouldn't recommend a light tank go and sit here because it doesn't really achieve too much, other than you just get a little bit of spotting, and then after which you then just fall back anyway and go to a different location. So you might as well go somewhere else on the map if you're in a light tank, because chances are medium tanks aren't going to be too far behind you anyway. So that location over there, as you can see, there's a little bit of a dip, a slope there. You can actually sit there and just farm people, or up there alternatively, If you're in a TD, you can go all the way up there, but I'll show you that more when we move on to the TDs. But this spot over here is where some heavy tanks will go. Also, some heavy tanks will go into the middle and move over here. It depends. If you're in a Super Conqueror, for example, middle is a great location because you can go hold down and you have good gun depression. So you can actually afford to kind of peek up, have a little look around, even go into this location over here and just shoot people across. But for the most part, you want to be moving up here with your medium tanks and just trying to see what you can actually shoot at. One thing that I will say is, do not peek up too far. So you see how you've got these little bumps in the hill? Use these to your advantage, because as soon as you peek up too far and you get spotted, these tanks right here are going to absolutely destroy you. Like, they have basically free access, as you can see right here. This is where they move up, and when they get to about here, because as you can see with the my placement of the crosshair, when they get to about here, they can just shoot across, and they're somewhat safe from the people that are here. So if your team's heavy tanks are being really passive here, then that can actually be a very, very big issue for the people on the hill. Because if they're way too passive, then this hill could die within minutes. It's just as simple as that. This hill, especially on this side of the map, relies so much on the middle. In fact, the hill doesn't matter on that side of the map. The hill relies so much on this side to the middle. It's kind of unbelievable. If you're in a platoon, maybe one of you could go there and one of you could go there, and then that way you do have someone that can help you out. But I mean, the chances are there's going to be maybe 2-3 heavy tanks that are going to be there. So either way, you're going to really wish that you had someone in the middle that can actually help you. If you do have people in the middle, then you can afford to actually push up, and you can actually move along and progress through this flank. However, as I've said, it's such a campy map. Anyone that is going to be sitting here, they'll probably just camp along this ridgeline. That's literally what they do. A few people might push up, and then they can actually, you know, spot you, shoot you, whatever. But that's about it. One thing that I will say, if you've come from this side of the map, so you've gone all the way along here and up the hill, you can actually go into this position right here, and you can just use it to just a little bit of a spot for the enemies. Once this bush becomes opaque, pull back, and you actually spot people that are here. So then your team can just shoot across. Chances are you don't get spotted unless there's someone else around. You shouldn't be spotted by doing this, but you can do in certain scenarios of the game. You can also do it with this bush, although it's more likely that you will get spotted by doing this. However, it can work. You just go push up there, do a little spot, fall back. You're pretty safe. I mean, the hill won't be able to shoot you too much. Maybe a few of them will if they're all the way up there. But the middle certainly won't be able to hit you unless you really push up and try and, you know, hit these people down here. So that's the hill kind of talked about. Let's now move on to the TDs, because the TDs, yeah, this map, yeah, TDs are kind of useful in this game. So now moving on to TDs. And, I mean, what did you expect? You're going to camp with your TDs. There's nothing else that you want to do. You camp your absolute pants off in this game with a TD. You could sit back wherever you want, as long as you're behind a bush. So I like to sit around about here. You see where these two bushes are. You just sit here and you wait for people to be spotted. That's it. This is the TD gameplay on this map. I'm not joking. There's nowhere else for you to go. Like, the only other place is over there, which I'll show you in a second. But you don't want to go into the middle. You definitely don't want to go up to the hill. This is the only locations that you can go in your TD. No matter what TD it is. Even in an Object 268 version 4, I wouldn't go to the hill in it. I wouldn't go to the middle in it. I would go right here and wait. Because what else are you meant to do? I mean, sure, there's going to be replays of people just blasting themselves through the middle in a Badger or a Tortoise and just bouncing everything. But I mean, that's a 1 in a million type of game. if you are in a TD, you need to play the sniper role. Along with where the low armoured medium tanks, they're all going to be sitting with you. And this is why you see so many people in heavy tanks and medium tanks, of no matter what armour type they are, just sitting back doing nothing, because they're waiting for anyone being spotted there. Which isn't the best way of playing this map, because if you're in a heavy tank, you might as well go here or up here, and then a medium tank go up there. It's just... this map's so campy, and I don't even know how Wargaming could actually alter this map. It's just one of those maps where it's just camp. You just get your tent, and you roast your marshmallows, and that's about it. But anyway, let's move on to this side, and then we'll have some final thoughts. Okay, so going over to this side. You'll notice that I didn't show any heavy tank gameplay. It's because I've kind of already covered it. You just go into the middle, or you go up there. You definitely don't go there with your heavy tank. Just don't be that kind of guy. Or girl. Whatever. But yeah, just there or there in your heavy tank. But this is the other location that I was saying about. You could go into here. You see how this is like a dip here. You can actually go all the way here. And you have perfect vision onto the people up there. As you can see. Shoot anyone that's there. You can go here in your medium tanks that are not so well armoured. Or alternatively, you could go all the way up here in your TDs. Wouldn't recommend going up here in medium tanks. You're kind of a bit too far away from the action at this point. But the option is here for the TDs that you might need a bit more cover. Or need a bit more elevation to do so. Like for example, the E25. He sits here. Good luck. Just good luck. The only thing that's the problem is that you need to go a bit further forwards to be able to spot anyone. So this spot is more for if they've already started pushing, and then you can shoot them as they're coming down. But I mean, you could just go a little bit further forwards, say to about here, and then you have perfect vision on basically half the hill. So that's about it for TDs. You just got a camp. That I know. I wish I could tell you that like there was a magical way of actually pushing through this map and making it less campy, but there's not. Unless you play in a platoon that's ultra aggressive, you can't win this map by playing aggressive on your own or anything like that, or going around a flank. There's not really anything you can do. So let's move on to some final thoughts now. So as I've stated about a million times, this map is a camp fest. There's not really much else you can do. Having said that, heavy tanks, go here, go here. Don't go anywhere else. If you go here, you're just making your team lose the game. There's no point sending an IS-7 over here. What use is that to the team? You're not providing your tank services to the best of the ability. I'm all for finding out new and weird spots in this game, but sending an Object 279E, maybe you can go there. But an IS-7, no, just don't. Just don't bother. I mean, sending a 279E and just going all the way down the 1 line, the 1-2 line, bit of a meme, because half the tanks can't pen you, so that's quite funny. But even then, you get someone that's got a big caliber gun that's got a load of pen, you're just going to get smashed. It doesn't matter what tank you're in. You know, Jagdpanzer E100 firing heat, that thing doesn't care what armor you have. Even on an Object 279E. You know, it doesn't matter. TDs, you just camp. You can't do anything else. You camp around here. I'm not going to show you that on that side of the map, because you camp here and you camp over on the hill, wherever you want to be. Although, I wouldn't recommend camping on the hill, because as soon as you get pushed, you're going to die instantly, pretty much. So you could push and camp on the hill, maybe in an Object 268 version 4, if you really want to. But, I mean, over here, and around here is where you want to have your TDs placed. Because anywhere else, and you're not getting the most out of the game. And the worst thing about it is that the TDs rely solely on the light tanks. They can't really do anything if they don't have a light tank or someone that can scout for them. And that's the biggest issue, I'd say, on this map. Because there's so many bushes, light tanks have the best view range in the game. For a reason. Because if the light tank is camoed in a bush, his camo goes up. He's not invisible. Okay, if you have a light tank that goes up close enough and has like 500 odd meters view range, then you're going to be able to spot that light tank in that bush. However, if you send TDs down there, chances are they're not even going to spot the light tank, and they're going to die before they even get anywhere close to spotting him. So, really, just camp in your TDs, and make sure, light tanks, you don't die at the start of the game. So light tanks, you want to be actively spotting here. If you take too much damage, back off, try and go somewhere else. Then don't just lose your hit points just because you want to try and get a bit more spotting damage, because you're not going to end up winning the game through there. Just go, maybe try here. If it doesn't work, back off, try and do some active spotting down the middle. Again, on the other side, you could go and just rush this straight away, which I'd recommend. Because if you rush this straight away and then spot this guy, chances are he's going to die. More than likely. And if he doesn't, then he's never going to that bush again. Unless he really has a death wish, he will never go to that bush again. So you're pretty safe. And then you could actually try and push up here and then move around here to try and spot some people. Alternatively, just spot the middle. Nothing really lost or gained by doing that. If you don't see anyone there. And finally, the heavy tanks, the medium tanks, you can go up the hill, you can go into the middle. Low armored medium tanks, just camp. There's no point you wasting your hit points just for nothing. Because at the end of the game, those hit points are actually going to come in really handy. Much like how, later on in the game, TDs become more useful as well. Because if there are still a light tank available at the end of the game and you have a TD to shoot people, then the chances of your winning are just going to skyrocket. So yeah, unfortunately, that's it for Prokhorovka. There's not really much else you can do about this map. Yeah, enjoy camping. Make sure you got your tent. And I'll see you in a bit.